morning and welcome to Political Spectrum, reaching live from the beautiful hills of Akwa. My name is Otomatikam and Francis is happy to be here this morning.
I'm always happy to be here. I mean, politics is one thing that you cannot distance yourself from, especially if you're someone who is very intentional about seeing changes happen in Nigeria that would lead to the overall development of the country.
The key word there is change, and when we talk about change, a lot of Nigerians will ask for specifics. When you are interested in seeing positive change in Nigeria, and especially when the word change has been used over time, and perhaps to some people they are not seeing what they perceive as change or what they expected to be the needed change, they would want you to specify the word change.
Well, change is subjective, and change has two sides, just like the sides of a coin. You have a positive change and you have the negative change. So I think Nigerians are more aware this time around to not just swallow hook, line, and sinker when someone comes preaching the message of change, but to ask specifically, like you rightly mentioned, what kind of change are we expecting, or should we be expecting from you? Is it a positive change or the negative change? And if there are positive change, can you let us know so that we also can judge for ourselves whether or not it's actually going to be positive, and if it is positive, to whose advantage, to whose benefit? Is it for the general good or for a collected group of persons or for an individual?
Exactly. Those are really specific terms that should be streamlined even before impressing change. And that being said, political spectrum is where we analyze issues, situations as far as politics is concerned, and it cuts across both state and the national politics. And of course, we dissect that and we keep our eyes wide open on all sides of the spectrum, left, right, everything in between, because you deserve to know all that it is to know about politics. And talking about that, we'll begin today, as in our routine, with the updates, after which we'll dive into the main issue of discourse. Now, the All Progressives Congress had the National Working Committee meeting a few days back, ahead of which certain decisions were made that will form the focus of the second part of this show. But yes, right now we're talking about the update, and let's get started. There are strong indications that the All Progressives Congress may disqualify political appointees contesting the 2023 elections who have not resigned from their appointments. It was gathered that the party would not risk being disqualified by fielding political appointees in contravention of the Section 84 sub 12. The Section 84 sub 12 of the new Electoral Act Amendment Bill stipulates that political appointees seeking elective office to resign ahead of the party's primaries they plan to participate in. And the President, Major General Muhammadu Buhari, retired, had, while signing the electoral bill on February 25th, expressed reservations over that particular section, Section 84, and asked the National Assembly to delete it. Well, subsequently, he wrote to the National Assembly requesting that that particular section be amended. The president's request was, however, rejected, and a lawyer, Nduka Dede, who is a member of the Action Alliance, approached the Federal High Court in Umuahia seeking a declaration that the provision be illegal. Well, Justice Evelyn Ayadike subsequently ruled that the section was unconstitutional, invalid, illegal, null, and void, and of no effect whatsoever, and asked Malami to delete that section. However, it was not deleted. The AGF was not only respondent as well. That is the situation that Nigeria finds itself. However, one would ask, why did the president sign the Electoral Act Amendment Bill if he had reservations over Section 84 sub 12 of the Electoral Amendment Act? That is one. Does it mean the president did not read through the bill that was presented before him and lasted for 30 days in his table, after which he rejected, and it was retransmitted to him and stayed with him for about 28 days, and then he finally signed? Why would you still have reservations for a document that was in your custody for appraisal and for review for such a number of time?
Well, as far as this situation is concerned, the bill has been signed into law and has become a legal property of the Nigerian government, of the Nigerian people. And so pending when the House are able to get back in recess and begin to, begin the process of changing or making the necessary changes to that particular subsection of the law, it remains binding to all of Nigerian citizens. Absolutely. And of course, the legal ruling by the justice is equally subjective to appeal by different bodies who are also not in support of that. You're talking about one section or some group of persons who took the case to court. Right now, to show that the president himself, having signed the bill into law, have also come to terms with the fact that this has become a legal document. That was what informed his decision to ask his ministers to resign, of which we are yet to see any person actually coming out to say, I have resigned, and possibly seeing any reaction. And like we said here yesterday, that just might inform the president's choice of his candidate or his preferred presidential candidate within the APC, and possibly one of the reasons why some key persons within the president's cabal are still yet to officially announce they're joining the bill.
It leaves one to wonder, was it really the president that was not comfortable with that section, with that particular clause in the Electoral Act Amendment Bill? Was it the president himself, or the people around the presidency, or the people amongst his cabinet who saw that this particular section would not favor them? Because it could be, to a large extent, it could explain the reason the president went ahead to sign it before the statement now came on board.
Well, I think this is just being fair. Expunging that segment wouldn't be fair, because if you look at the civil service, for instance, if you're in the civil service, you're working for the government and you want to vie for a political office, it is expected of you to resign before running for the political office. So that should also be applicable to political appointees, because you are also serving the government. You are an employee and should make way if you want to run for political office. So I do not see, a lot of Nigerians do not see any need for that aspect of the constitution to be expunged. If we have to do that, then you also have to expunge the fact that if peradventure someone is in the civil service and wants to vie for the political appointment, that person can also leave civil service, or possibly take a break or apply for a leave or whatever, and then apply for a political office. And should the person win, then we now would have a situation on our hands whether or not the person will continue being a civil servant and also a politician who is serving, or the person will have to resign his position as a civil servant to serve in politics.
The transparency of the process should also be considered, because being a serving member of a particular cabinet and still vying for another elective position still under that would leave in question the process and the proceedings, because a lot of persons who feel it might be rigged in favor of the person, because you're already within the structure of the party, within the National Federal Executive Council, hearing valid information that might work to your advantage, making policies and decisions that might work only to your advantage. So for fairness and equity, I think it's only natural for appointees to oblige to these provisions of the law. Regardless, if there was anything that was supposed to be done for that particular section, it should have been expunged even before the president's signature was penned down on it. And this has happened already. I feel it's only natural for all quarters to whom it may concern to oblige and follow the due process. After all, if it's anything to go by, that we are good people, the good people of Nigeria, that we are very courteous with the law. We take, of course, we regard the law and the constitution, and no, don't look at me like that. This is a country where we obey the rule of law.
Yes, I totally agree with you. I mean, the rule of law is sacrosanct, and no one is expected to be above the law, in quote. But we also know as Nigerians will tell you straight up that there are persons, some section of the society, some class of the society, who reportedly or see themselves as being above the law to an extent, and that is why you won't see them obeying court rulings, you won't see them obeying the constituted authorities, you won't see them doing things that ordinary Nigerian citizens of the middle class or the low class persons would do. But that is a question for another day. Talking about the section of this thing, if, for instance, you have someone who is in office, the chances are that this person is still in power, this person still has a significant influence over the persons who are going to form the delegates and the decision makers who would eventually vote who is going to be the party flag bearer. If you're talking about creating an enabling environment within the party system, if you're talking about a credible primary system where everybody is given fair opportunities, equal opportunities to try their chances with the electorate or with the candidates, then you have to remove that fact. Because if you do not remove, then you'd give some persons an upper hand to the detriment of other persons, which will not speak well. And at the end, the election would not be, credible and fair.
Well, for the All Progressives Congress, I think they are doing more of a selective obedience when it comes to the new Electoral Act Amendment Bill, because I recall during their national convention, those persons, some persons who were already constituting, those who were part of this administration in the cabinet of President Muhammadu Buhari, were not allowed to vote. They did not vote during the process, and that was one of the provisions provided by the new Electoral Act Amendment Bill, and that was obeyed to the latter. One would wonder why this other one would not be obeyed. Why wouldn't Section 84 be obeyed, sub 12? Why is it ignored? Why is it being neglected? Well, let's see what happens. We still have a few days to the political parties primaries, which will happen next week. And let's wait and see if perhaps some of them would resign and obey the constitution, because like I would say, I know you will laugh.
I do hope that they will obey constitutional authorities. And walking away from that, ahead of the 2023 presidential elections, the chairman of the Southeast Governors Forum, who doubles as the governor of Ibom State, Dave Umahi, and some other presidential aspirants met in Abuja yesterday. The meeting was organized by Greater Nigeria Conference, GNC, and took place at the Executive Hall International Conference Center, Abuja. According to Francis Mweze, Special Assistant on Media and Publicity to Governor Umahi, the meeting was aimed at ensuring that all political parties, particularly the ruling All Progressive Congress, APC, and the People's Democratic Party, PDP, seat their presidential candidates to the Southeast Zone. This is due to agitations that President Muhammadu Buhari's successor should emerge from the Southeast region. According to the media aide, it is expected that all the presidential aspirants from the zone will be unveiled with video documentaries and responses.
Well, that is the South is coming out boldly to, seek for power. They're ready to take power by force, because initially the argument was that, yes, we understand for equity it should go to the Southeast, but nobody would just say, oh, Southeast, come and take power. So they are now making moves, coordinated moves, strategic moves to ensure that they lobby and negotiate with the people who are in custody of power at the moment, to ensure that they can, have a grasp of it. And this is one of those moves that they've decided to take. Yes, they came together. This is something that a lot of persons would say happened in 1999 when Obasanjo came out, that it was consensusly decided upon to fix the issue of June 12 that power should get to the Southwest, where Obasanjo was brought through, and all the persons, all parties involved actually, threw their weight behind him, and he emerged as the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And perhaps this is one of those times that Nigerians might have to, wake up to another call of injustice and see what they can do for the Southeast. But saying that all political parties must ensure that their presidential flag bearers is a Southeasterner, that is one thing that cannot be guaranteed at this point, because as it is, the two major political parties, the APC and the PDP, they're still struggling and battling with which zone they are actually going to send, or maybe zone their presidential tickets to. So that is going to be quite a difficult task as it is.
Well, like you already know, the political terrain is basically a negotiation table, and it's all about interest, it's all about what favors the greater good. And this situation, like you rightly mentioned, the situation where former President Olusegun Obasanjo came into power, you would recall that in Nigeria, over time, there's been this agitation and nothing has been done about it. But never has it been this magnified in the different voices and across borders calling for the presidential ticket to be zoned to the South. And so this time around, we might be seeing a slight change. We might be seeing a significant change, depending on the negotiating powers of the governors and the stakeholders who are calling for right to be done in the interest of all Nigerians. And if we see that, I think that would be, or this might go down in history as one of Nigeria's most beautiful moments, politically speaking.
Frankly, the people from the Southeast, they're not actually saying it must be an Igbo president. The Southeast is comprising of different ethnic groups. You have the Ijaw there, you have the, I think Isoko, and all of them. And it's not necessarily, they're not saying it must be an Igbo man. Yes, you can be a Deltant, but provided you're from the Southeast. They have made that point very clear. But one thing I know that they're still trying to, come up with is the issue of a consensus candidate from the Southeast. You will understand that within the People's Democratic Party, amongst the Northern aspirants, they tried to come up with a consensus candidate from the North, which of course it's not working. It's not working because not all parties have been able to agree to that. Practically, Alhaji Atiku Abubakar said he's not a party to that. And I don't know which persons came together to bring out Saraki as the consensus candidate of the North, which is still being embattled at the moment. But the Igbos, the Southeasterners have come up with one message, regardless of how many persons are coming out. When one of them is being picked, the rest of them will throw their weight behind that one person that has been picked. They do not really need to come to a consensus decision as to fronting one particular candidate and say, oh, it must be Peter Obi, or maybe it must be Dr. Chris Ngige, or maybe it must be this one. They're not ready to take that chances, because you want to see on the other side, if they try that, it might be that they would have one or two reasons to disqualify this other person and then mar their chances. So it is better excuse to say, yes, we have this, we have this, we have this. Pick whichever one you want. We will go by that, and we will ensure that we've cast our weight upon that singular aspirant and then emerge.
Now that is called political wisdom. I mean, it takes the Southeast away from, being limited in options to having a variety of options.
Exactly.
And then with the variety of options also comes a variety of opportunities and a multitude of scenarios where they can actually, or we can actually be successful in having those agitations met. And we might be seeing different changes. And like you said, Saraki has been endorsed by some northern sections of the North, and some other group are also not in support. And in fact, we've had comments from the some northern groups saying that whichever group, whichever cabal met to decide that Saraki was actually like a consensus candidate, did that of their own free will, and of course as their personal opinion, which they are entitled to. And so we're still going to see a lot of politics play out until the primaries come and go, and the party, the electoral umpires get to announce who the different party flag bearers are. I think that is when all of this is going to die out.
And few days to that grand decision, we are waiting and anticipating the decision to be made. But well, the three governorship aspirants of the People's Democratic Party in Nasarawa State have united to ensure that the PDP wins at the 2023 governorship elections in the state. The aspirants include the former Minister of Information, Labaran Maku, former House of Representatives member David Obagadu, and Major General Nuhu Abozo, retired. And the chairman of the People's Democratic Party in the state, Francis Orogu, made the disclosure in Lafia on Monday at a unity meeting of the aspirants organized by the State Working Committee of the party to proffer plans on how to unseat Governor Abdullahi Sulu in 2023. And he quotes, "Our aspirants are better than Governor Sulu, who always speaks of foreign investment, and but there is no single investment attracted to the state, not even local governments, not even local investment. The environment is not even good enough for any foreign investment to come into the state." Well, in 2023, we would not only cast our vote, but we would ensure that the vote casted are counted, and we are going to use every might to make sure our votes count.
Well,
our votes count.
Our votes count.
Our votes count.
Yes, I like the fact that you're echoing that.
Oh, well.
Now, the key word is making sure that the votes count. The key word is ensuring that you cast your vote, because if you do not cast a vote, then you will not be able to ensure that that vote counts. And then there are two implications. You can actually ensure that you cast your vote without actually being able to ascertain whether or not the vote you casted actually did count in the final process of compilations of the candidates who eventually emerges as a winner. So dedicating resources, dedicating time, dedicating energy, and mobilizing to ensure that persons don't only get their voters card, but get to vote, and then they don't just get to vote and return to their houses, but that they get to vote and secure the environment and ensure that at the end of the day, the votes that are counted tallies with the votes that were actually made in favor of a particular candidate.
Absolutely.
And so the will of the people becomes the supreme will.
Of course, the will of the people would always become the supreme will. But ahead of that primaries, further extensions has been made among the People's Democratic Party. For first, the last day for sales of forms was Friday. That was Friday, 22nd, 2022. And the last day for submission already completed forms Monday, April 25, which was yesterday. And screening of both State House of Assembly and National Assembly Wednesday, April 27, that being tomorrow, 2022. And the screening of the governorship candidates on Thursday, 28, 2022. Screening for presidential aspirant Friday 29th 2022, and of course the third ad hoc World Congress is Saturday April 30th 2022. Appeal on all screening exercises would be on Monday May 2nd 2022, and local government area National Delegates Congress Thursday May 5th 2022. All primary dates remains the same. Honorable Umar M. Batwa, National Organizing Secretary. Well, that is it for that particular purpose. And then, yes, we'll go on a short timeout. When we return, Political Spectrum would continue. Stay with us.
only one allowed by grossly abused. Our governors have to share police power with the president as stipulated by the Constitution. We do not have a federal government police force. We have the Nigerian Police Force, which shall be administered, organized, and supervised by the Nigerian Police Force.
No, my lord, I want to say something. I want to say something here. Perhaps it might also enlarge the scope of people who should be invited here for examination. My lord, if we cannot find those who literally murdered Abiola, who are those people who could be said to be the beneficiaries of the death of Abiola?
Rogers has linked you with some of the killings he did.
He never did.
He linked you with the attempted murder of Ibom.
He did not.
My lord, the matters council is leading the evidence in our matters.
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my lord, but you can't be talking about cases which are in court.
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my lord. These cases are in court, my lord. I'm just reminding your lordship.
My lord, sorry, my lord, I think I'll be in cross-examination.
Legally Speaking, a program that deals with legal issues and questions we face as citizens of this amazing country, Nigeria. Legally Speaking. Join us every
Friday from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m.
for Legally Speaking.
Politics is a game. It is about delivering dividends of democracy. For this, accountability is key. So we listen, we follow up on the promise, and we track the progress. Watch Political Spectrum weekdays, 10 a.m. to 11:30 a.m., exclusive to Spectrum Television. Welcome back. Yes, the show is still Political Spectrum, reaching you live from the beautiful hills of Ibom. And of course, in the second part, like I said, we've been joined by the All Progressives Congress Publicity Secretary. And yes, I would like to mention that it belongs to the Austin Kingdom, the very controversial faction of the All Progressives Congress. He's not smiling. He doesn't want to smile. Perhaps there's a reason for that. Good morning, Mr. Solomon.
It's good to be here once again. Thank you very much for having me.
Good morning.
The last time we were here, you had to rush out because time failed us to talk about certain issues. Okay. And then subsequently to that, there were some resolutions made at the recently held National Working Committee meeting of your party. And some of those has to do with a consensus decision, which of course the Publicity Secretary at the National actually said that that hasn't been concluded upon. I would like us to take a look at some of those resolutions that were made during that meeting. One of which is that the President Muhammadu Buhari and others would have to step aside, as the committee will hand power to the National Working Committee of the party to make decisions for the party for a period of 90 days. And one of those decisions were that the governorship candidates in states where is an opposition state, that the governorship candidates would have to become the leader of the political party. How does that go down with you when you've said at several times that there is nothing like a political leader within the All Progressives Congress?
Thank you very much for asking that question. If you listen to how our national chairman presented the situation, you would have heard him saying that the new APC constitution recognizes the governor of a state as leader of the party, before going further to say that in states where the party is opposition, that the governorship candidate, who probably would have been the governor, should take the lead as leader of the party. And if you recall our conversations in this station, you will remember that I always say that if you read through the constitution of APC from the first page to the last, you wouldn't find any provision as to who should be a leader of the party. But I think that that was taken care of at the amendment, during the convention, and then we now can have persons described as leaders of the party. And the national chairman, Senator Abdullahi Adamu, had expressly stated that in states that APC is an opposition, that the governorship candidate, which I would want to say is the governorship candidate that would have been the governor, in the last election, that should be the leader of the party. So bring that home to Akwa Ibom State. The leader of the party would be His Excellency Mobong Nzima Ekere, because he is the 2019 governorship candidate of the APC. You ask whether that sits well with us. Well, that it does. That is the position of the party, and that looks reasonable and logical, because governorship candidates by convention and practices are the ones that fund and finance the political party, for instance in Akwa Ibom State. So it is proper to accord them the recognition and allow party members to have who to look for, look at for leadership direction, especially in situations where there is rancor, where there is disagreement, and then there can be somebody who can convene the meeting and say, I have been conferred with the power to lead the party, and this is how I want us to run.
Well, it's interesting to know that there's a new constitution for the All Progressives Congress, but does that to a large extent put to rest the structure, party structure struggle between the Austin Ekinem chairmanship and that of STVNg?
I don't really think there is that confusion as is being captured in a section of the media. And we just have to be careful because that matter is before the court, and we will rely on the decision of the court when it is finally resolved. We had a Congress, that is factual, on the 16th of October 2021. And it was a media event. It was produced Austin Ekandem as state chairman. Now, it is something seriously criminal to have some other person to claim that he was elected at that Congress that was well captured by the media. So that has been put before the court to adjudicate, and we are optimistic that the court will look at the facts and the evidence, because the first time the mistake that I think the petitioner did was to go to court with himself. He went to court with himself. You know, parties must appear before my Lord, and then they are heard. The first mistake that led to the justice that gave the judgment of the Federal High Court was a one-sided argument. The persons that were supposed to be in court, that's the Austin Ekandem-led EXCO, that is the fact and issue of the matter, were not in court. So
why was that so?
They were not sued. That matter should not be heard because you would not have been given fair hearing. And fair hearing is very fundamental to deciding over a matter. So we are optimistic that the facts of the matter, the facts that the parties were not given fair hearing, will be looked at the Court of Appeal, and then that will be decided.
Okay, like you've said, the Austin Ekandem's section of the APC were not present in court, and that means they were not given fair hearing. And now we're talking about the federal, the national. Do you see the Austin Ekandem-led state chairman, agreeing to such a decision in the overall interest of the party?
Well, the fact of the matter is that we are trying to understand the body language of the new leader of the party.
Why are you trying to understand?
No, we are trying to see. We are trying to see what method he is going to use to resolve the issues. We're trying to see whether he will like to allow the court matters to run, or whether he would like to summon the parties to a meeting. And each of those methods are methods that will be used in resolving the issue. But the fact of the matter is that APC is going to go into the elections 2023 as a united, strong, focused political party. That is what is very important to every APC, making it look like we do not know what we are doing. We're believing that very soon we are going to have a political solution that is going to resolve all the issues. Political solution is the best way of handling issues, even economically, politically, or otherwise. So let's look towards to that.
Well, you have mentioned that you're still trying to understand the incoming or the newly elected leader, appointed leader of the All Progressives Congress in Akwa Ibom State, and that is in the person of His Excellency Mr. Nsima Ekere. And in view of that, your part of the APC, or your section of the APC, is rumored to be, planning an elaborate welcome party. Could that be viewed as lobbying? So to just categorically stated that it is the Austin Ekandem led faction of the party that is planning this welcome party?
It will be uncharitable to describe the Austin Ekandem led EXCO as being factional. The reason is that the party conducted election, and that election the party conducted produced Austin Ekandem. And then he was certificated by the party as the duly elected chairman of the party. He was inaugurated by the same party, and then he started running.
Okay.
And so,
you would also validate the fact that the incoming or the incumbent chairman of the All Progressives Congress at the national, Adamu, also swore in STVNg as the chairman of the All Progressives Congress, Akwa Ibom State chapter. That also gives a lot of validation to his chairmanship.
No, he acted in error. The chairman acted in error. I have intent. Assad, the day the judgment of the Federal High Court was delivered, the judgment of the Federal High Court, in which some people are relying to carry out some atrocities against the party, was delivered on 17th of March 2022. Now, Mr. Austin Ekandem was elected on 16th of October 2021, sworn in on 7th of March 2022, before the judgment of the Federal High Court. Now, when the Federal High Court now, when the Court of Appeal now asks that party should maintain status quo, the court was simply saying, if you were outside the party, remain outside. If you are inside of the party offices as maybe chairman, whatever, remain there, pending the determination of this court. Now, the national chairman, in all fairness to him, has been misled to, set aside that court order and then inaugurate Austin.
Because
that it will be safe to say that the suspended legal advisor of the party gave the wrong advice. Because it's a legal matter, the national chairman must have sought his opinion, and then he ambushed the national chairman. I hope I am wrong.
But those are speculations.
But the thing is, no, it's not speculation. It's not speculation. On economic matters, if economic policies fail, you blame the economic advisor. The media must understand the consequences of disobeying a court order, either by an individual or by an organization. Anything that, for instance, Mr. Stephen Twegbo does as in a capacity like the state chairman of the party is an illegality, because there is a court order that stops him from acting as such. We have had cases where people took actions when they didn't have the powers to so do, or the court had stopped them. Estopel is that once you know of a particular existence of a particular thing, you are not supposed to act. Back, they reported how the party withdrew from the appeal they filed, and then they also were in court that same day, that same court, when the court gave the order that status quo should be maintained. And they have tried to interpret status quo to mean something that it is not. So I'm putting to the media that the national chairman acted in error, and we hope that that error will be corrected very soon.
Well, you said he acted in error, and we maintain it might be out of speculation, because you never can tell. It has not been established who actually misinformed the national chairman, and as someone who just assumed office, he has gotten information from across board as to a particular situation. I would not believe that he did not get information from all parties before acting. It would be so irrational to start with. But back to the question that I asked, looking at the reception, the planned reception, is that a way of lobbying?
No, it can't be a way of lobbying. It is something that has been delayed. We ordinarily need to appreciate Obong Semaigere extensively for what he has done for the APC. In fact, to be honest with the public, we owe him appreciation. You recall that we struggled with the party when Senator John James Akwa was the only person funding the party between 2011 to 2015. Then came Obong Umano Konumana, who brought some capacity and finesse to the party. And then the summation of it was the coming of His Excellency, the former Deputy Governor, Obong Semaigere. That was when you found APC bosses across the state. That was when you found good party offices. That was when you found, and so before he was named as the party leader, the party was looking at how we can show appreciation to him and then show solidarity with him, even though we went into the election and then we lost. The planned reception that a date will be fixed not very soon is nowhere any means of lobbying him as the leader of the party. Of course, you can recall that Obong Semaigere spoke to the delegates on the day of the Congress. He's about himself and Senator John James Akwa, who on the day of the Congress was monitoring and supervising the exercise across the whole nation, are the only two gladiators in the APC that were not physically present at the venue of the Congress. Obong Umano Konumana was there, Twekondon Etebet was there, Chief Godswill Akpabio was there, Senator Itainang, was there. And now, so he had equally congratulated those who were elected at that Congress. I can say without any fear of contradiction that Obong Ikere is not excited at the confusion that the Ntogekpo faction of the party has brought into the APC. And we can from there predict what he may likely do, because he has the interest of the party at heart, considering especially the huge investment that he has made in the party just recently.
All right, now, since you've said it's not a faction of the APC that is organizing the welcome party for the newly appointed leader, is it right, or would you say that the other factions of the party have been also or will be invited and will be expected to also play vital roles in the welcoming party?
I know a united APC. The other day we received Senator John James Okpan-Odoide, who had just made us proud at the national scene. And it was not a divided APC that did it. It was a united APC. A divided APC couldn't have filled Ibom Hall's ground to capacity. Wouldn't have caused the kind of sea of hate.
Because I recall still within the All Progressives Congress when former governor of Edo State, Adams Oshiomhole, was the chairman of the party, the national chairman. It was also named at the same forum, just like it's been done now when former deputy governor, Mr. Ikere, has just been appointed as the leader of the party, and it's accepted. I can see your expression, you're excited about it, and it's accepted. I recall such pronouncement was also made sometimes after when there was a massive defection when Chief Godswill Akpabio actually joined the All Progressives Congress. And of course, let me land on that. Let me land on that. Let me land on that. When there was, excuse me, let me land on that. There was a pronouncement, and it was also about the leadership of the party, and he was made the leader of the All Progressives Congress.
And you remember we
did not see a massive reception. We did not see excitement in terms of reaction and all of that. And up till now, there's still not been any reception to that effect. Would we say we still, does this think why the disparities in actions or in response?
Let's correct this impression. We can count the number of persons who defected to the APC.
Regardless of the number, let's talk about the leadership.
And then you asked me this question in this same studio some time ago, and I told you that His Excellency...
Because you accused the former chairman of the All Progressives Congress, Adams Oshiomhole, for acting in error. And now Adamu just came in, and you're saying he's still acting in error.
You know what it means to be a leader. And you know what? Leadership must, attract followership, must attract some solidarity. And that solidarity can only come if you have impacted on the institution that you are named the leader. You have, there is affinity between you and the institution that you are named the leader. His Excellency Chief Godswill Akpabio had just defected to the party. He has not even registered as a member of the party, and you name him a leader of the party. You've not even helped to strike a reconciliation between him and key players of the party. APC was formed in Akwa Ibom basically to unsettle. Look at what happened in Akwa Ibom State between the era 2007 and 2015. And that was the era that the APC boomed in Akwa Ibom State. Why? People wanted change. From what? From who? From where? From Chief Godswill Akpabio and the APC, and the PDP. And a man, after APC had won the presidential election, just defected to the party, and you name him leader of the party. It was, in fact, it was an insult on people like Obong Senator John James Okpan-Odoide, who've been funding the party till that point in time. That was why Chief Godswill Akpabio did not give vent to that announcement, and it was just dormant. The right thing is bringing people who have contributed to the growth of the organization, people who have structures in the party. That is who you can name. That's why across Akwa Ibom State, across the membership of APC, people are excited about naming Obong Ikere as leader of the party because he put in his best.
Okay, because he put in his best is no longer an error on the part of the chairman.
It can never be. I think that the national chairman had done his due diligence. It was not, that announcement was not peculiar to Akwa Ibom. It was due diligence. He probably must have consulted. And like between a minister and a former a governorship candidate, who should we say should lead the party? And maybe The preponderance of opinion was, let the people who funded the party, let the people who have structures in the party, let the people who run the election, works in to intervene. And the truth now comes out that it is the governorship candidates that we should allow to lead the party. We are, from the preponderance of opinion, from the excitement that you have reported, it tells you that the party, for once, had acted in the right direction.
So you mean that when decisions taken at the national level of the party favors your party or some section of the party, it is taken as being taken out of due diligence, and when it does not favor, it is taken as an error?
But how do you define democracy? It is government of the people, by the people, for the people. If you take a decision and it doesn't sink down well with the people, you can sure expect to have a revolution. People will revolt, naturally so. Now, when you do a thing and it strikes a chord with the people, it sits well with them, they applaud you. Akwa Ibom people, members of the APC, recognizes Ogbonsima Ekere's contribution to the nobody, and you have recognized the excitement. Nobody had kicked against his being named as leader of the party.
But do you know that no meaningful change actually happens without discomfort? With all decisions taken by leaders are always syncing well with the people, chances are that you remain synced and stable where you are. To make decisive change and to move ahead in terms of policies, some factors will be shaken.
Which one will you prefer?
Let me ask you, which one do you prefer? I'm asking you, which one would you prefer?
I go with the majority. Utilitarian purposes of politics is that the greatest number of people must be satisfied. Once the greatest number of people are happy, then you know you've gotten it right. Okay. If you bring a policy, you bring a decision, and then majority of the people are not happy, you run a government, for instance, maybe like what Governor Odom Emmanuel is doing in Akwa Ibom State, and it's just people who are in the government that are happy, and then you look at the street, the government, you know that something is wrong.
Okay, now that basically is your opinion at this point, but I'd like to take your mind back. When you were talking about the person of Chief Godswill Akpabio, and he's being announced as the leader of the APC and the surrounding issues around it, you did say that the APC in Akwa Ibom State built their strength to unseat his administration, in quotes, the PDP administration. But now we are seeing the same personality within the APC, and the APC has touted him to be as one of the biggest fishes within the APC. What then, my question to you is, what changed after he moved camp from PDP to APC that has now made somebody that his administration was seen as a bloodthirsty administration to a different thing?
I wish you didn't ask me this question.
No, it's very critical that we answer.
And I am sad to be put in a position to answer this question. But the simple truth of the matter is that if you are making progress as an organization, get to know what you've done right, why you are making that progress. Get to know why people choose your station. Get to know why people come to do business with you. So that when you know why people do business with you, you know the things that you are to avoid. What was really the thing that made APC to grow in strength? I was in a meeting where His Excellency tried to merge the Ogbonsima Ekere and Senator John Odoyede's group together ahead of 2019 election. And he told us that we did very well in 2011. I don't want to tell you exactly what he told us. He said we did very well and that he would want us to bring that strength and capacity back to 2019 election. Why were people in Akwa Ibom State, en masse in the APC, 2011 to 2015 to 2019, and then we lost the election? The reason is that we were seen as a party that is going to fight corruption, insecurity, kidnapping, cultism, and all of that. And then all of a sudden we found the person that was like, the leader of that government, into a party. You recall what Obong Victor Ota said shortly after Chief Godswill Akpabio, defected to APC. Obong Victor Ota is the political leader of Ibibio people. Ibibio is the 4th largest ethnic group in Nigeria. Check the comment. He said APC was coasting home to victory until Chief Godswill Akpabio defected to the party. He said he does not see the chances of the party winning. And unfortunately, we lost the election. So make your judgment.
No, you say you lost the elections. Could that, what do you hold to that? Is it his presence in the party that made people not to vote? Because to a large extent, what we saw in public space was that his presence at the party drew more attention to the party. A lot of persons got attracted to the party because of his entrance into the party. Would it be that the grievousness, because to a large extent, people who fell out, could it be that these persons could not get over their rift between them and they could not synergize in the short possible time to work together to grant victory?
I always like being vocal and expressive on when I meet the press, and I think I've done enough. I want you to listen to the explanation I've given you. Take your mind back to the comment that Obong Victor made, which is widely reported by many national media as to the fate of the APC when His Excellency Chief Godswill Akpabio defected to the party. And then take a time out, look at if Chief Godswill Akpabio had really added value to the APC upon coming to the party, become the sole beneficiary of the struggle that started, as AC, ACN, and all of that. And then find out if he has even been magnanimous enough to reconcile with people who left the PDP to form APC because of his, mode of leadership then. And then find out what His Excellency continues to do in the APC, even as being the sole beneficiary of the sweat, the struggle of common people like us. Has he really reconciled with those people that he saw as enemies when he was governor in the PD? Or has he been like, he comes in and becomes an atomic, a kind of an isolation that with the attention he had gotten, with the benefits he had amassed from the party, he uses it to cause confusion in the party? I want you to look at if that is adding value to the party or not. And then measure it up with what people like Obong Konumana had done, measure it up with what people like Obong Semaigere had done, and then find out why should it be Chief Godswill Akpabio that, is the reason for most of the confusion, the crisis that we are having in the party.
Okay, now, while you were talking about the essence of the APC formulation in Akwa Ibom State, you made mention of the fact that one of the key issues, or the key issues that prompted massive awareness, massive support from the people of Akwa Ibom State for the APC was because they were seen as coming to fight corruption, coming to fight cultism, coming to fight kidnapping and other vices that was happening in the community as at then. Now, bringing that to play, the APC has been in the hands of affair at the national level for running to about 8 years now, and they came into power with the same mantra that the APC in Akwa Ibom also were vying for the position of the governorship of the state. And so far, feeling the pulse of Nigerians right now, you can possibly agree with most Nigerians that the issue of insecurity, for instance, has not been dealt with decisively like the APC government had promised.
Well, I won't agree with you on that. It depends on where you stand to make your judgment. When APC took over Nigeria, the security situation was worse than what we have it now. I acknowledge the fact that we have skirmishes. For instance, the banditry in some part of the country, but that cannot be compared to the atrocities committed by the dreaded Boko Haram sect that had even annexed part of the country, taken control of about 14 local government areas of the country, hoisted their flag. As at this time when we're talking in this studio, there's no part of the university sociology of development. It is scholarly acknowledged that crime is part of the society, in quotes. You have people who maybe because of hunger, because of not having money in their pocket, they try to pick people's money. You have people who, because of high temper, they fight. Somebody dies in the process. Those are criminal activities. It will never be bereft. It will never be. There will never be a time that we won't have it in the society. But that cannot be compared to a situation where there is total breakdown of law and order. For instance, somebody sits in a place, have his own flag, like what we had
But
during that era.
what we have seen now, to a large extent, people would say it's the lack of reportage from the media, because to a large extent, the administration of President Muhammadu Buhari has successfully, pressed down the measures by which some of the security issues are reported on the media.
Are you
so
really
it is
sure?
basically
That is like saying that the president cuts the press. Can we really say that the president cuts the press? Do we have any evidence that the president, the APC, is against the press?
Well, that is an arguable fact. But so far, if we have to, Nigerians have to compare within Nigerian authorities and outside the Nigerian space between the time of former President Goodluck Jonathan and the present administration, in terms of media freedom, in terms of press freedom, in terms of media ability to report issues that are happening in the country, I think to a large extent, a lot of persons would agree that former Goodluck Jonathan's administration was far better off than this present administration.
Show me one instance that the APC President Muhammadu Buhari had arrested one journalist in the last 7 years. Just one instance. Show me one. And show me one instance that the press had done a thorough investigation, deep-rooted investigation, unravel a situation, and then the president asked that it be pulled down. I am a practicing journalist. I was a practicing journalist before I come to this level. Freedom, people are allowed to express themselves, publish their opinion. It is under President Muhammadu Buhari. And I never even expected him to be, because he was tapped a dictator. I had thought that he was going to use some hard stance. People will tell you that to govern Nigeria, to preside over Nigeria, you need to have some level of that dictatorship, kind of. I may not agree with it, but people had thought that President Muhammadu Buhari was going to be harsh in the way he tackles people who are corrupt, in the way he tackles people who are maybe the media and all of that. But we have not seen that harshness with regards to the press. And the other time we had interaction, I have asked the press to dig into what the president is doing. The infrastructural renaissance across the country, the special interventions against poverty, against unemployment. I've asked the press to be interested more, that would make Nigerians to appreciate. Now let's come back to Akwa Ibom State and then look at the fact that we've had a situation where any slightest report, as at this time we are talking, there is a journalist who published an item in the social media, who is now languishing in police custody, getting to about 3 months on the instruction and order of the state government. We can recall the Silas situation. He reported a situation about the wife of the governor, a kind of a report that connected to the wife of the governor. He was incarcerated, arraigned, and before we could struggling in court to extricate themselves from defamation suits, libel, and all of that from this present government in Akwa Ibom State. Can we say that of President Muhammadu Buhari? And if you say things are hard in the country, have we asked what governors, for instance, our governor in Akwa Ibom State, is doing with the resources that are coming from the federal government to Akwa Ibom? Have we seen that massive agricultural intervention? Have we seen that massive intervention in schools? The other day, we saw schools, primary schools, secondary schools that are deroofed, that pupils and students are sitting on bare floor to study. We've gone to villages. We've seen the dilapidation of infrastructure. I want the press to, because when the press is in slumber, the people suffer.
Well,
let us not so much.
During the last meeting of the National Working Committee. Okay. And that meeting, of course, you would remember that both Austin Ekanem and STVNg were not allowed entrance into that meeting. Okay. And then that also shows that two of them have or stand better chances of actually emerging as the chairman of APC Akwa Ibom State chapter. Let's dwell on that at the moment and tell us why. What's the latest development on that now? Well,
the fact that is not new. I wanted to ask you whether those who are proponents of the StVNg chairmanship, whether they've agreed with you that he was not allowed to enter the NEC meeting of the party because he is unknown to the party. He is
just like Osnekan, because he was not also allowed
yeah,
to
there is a contention that unsettles the authenticity, so to say, of what
means that two of them are controversial and should step aside pending when their decisions, their issue would be resolved.
I think that is not really what should have happened. When you set aside the rights of somebody who occupies a seat, merely because somebody has gone to court, you have jeopardized his right to the seat. Even assuming when you go and realize, for instance, the court decides that this was the duly elected chairman, how will you compensate him for the time and the embarrassment you've caused him? I don't think that that was the right thing to do, but it's a bitter pill that we have swallowed, because when we went to the National Convention, the party came up with the resolution that the 5 states that have issues with the leadership should not participate in the voting process of the party, to preserve, to ensure that in case they are wrong, in case there is merit in the matters pending before the court, it will not invalidate the outcome of the National Convention. To a large extent, we agree with the party on that decision, and that is exactly what was applied at the NEC meeting of the party. And we don't bandy falsehood. Mr. Ostenekan did not attend the meeting, and Mr. Stephen Turekpo did not also attend the meeting. I have seen a lot of effort put by their people, by their men, trying to say that he attended the meeting because they
in the meeting hall with some key persons, stakeholders that were there.
After the meeting to take pictures.
Which also means that he was, which also stipulates that he must have been there at the meeting.
Like for instance, now maybe after we are done with the interview, the men who came here with me just walked in to get a selfie with some
it is speculation. It is speculation.
That would mean that they were here to be interviewed, but they can seek the permission of this media outfit to say, please let me stand with your mask and snap. Okay. I think that's what happened at Transcorp Hill.
That is basically going to be your opinion.
It's not my opinion. It's not my opinion.
It's not provable as it stands, because his camp has not come out to say this is what actually happened. Okay. And it is coming from you. So and the point is one-sided.
I'm telling you, as the official spokesman of the APC, that Mr. Ostenekan did not attend the NEC meeting. And I've told you why. I've told you what transpired if you attended the meeting. Told you a lie. And you did your investigation and realized that he did not attend the meeting.
Well, would you say, or do you agree that Ostenekan and Stephen Otukpo at the moment holds equal rights to the party?
No, they don't.
Why so?
No, they don't. One parades himself with forged document. He was not at the venue of the convention, and you are witnesses of truth, the media. Did you find Mr. Stephen Turekpo at Shea Grace Arena on the day of the Congress?
I saw pictures. I saw pictures.
No. Those pictures were taken at Kara Event Center, where ADF had their meeting. His Excellency Chief Godswill Akpabio went thereafter to address them. That's where they took those pictures. And Mr. Stephen Turekpo yesterday was arrested and detained by the Nigerian police force because the person who came to Akwa Ibom to conduct the Congress, Alhaji Banki Sherif, had petitioned the police about the result of the Congress, which Mr. Stephen Turekpo forged. All the result, INEC report, are forged. And these are the documents that were presented to the court to ambush my lord, to give judgment. And so they do not have that equal right. I don't want you to present that to members of the public. They don't. Okay. One is an audacious criminal. The other one is one who was duly elected.
Well, you said he was arrested, but yesterday it was down evening yesterday. There were pictures of Stephen Otukpo.
Not being in the police custody does not mean that somebody was not arrested. To be arrested is...
Could it be he was called for questioning and not the word arrest?
What is the difference between calling for questioning
Could be to just verify facts, or possibly it doesn't have a case, just to verify what went wrong.
No. I am putting it to you that there is a petition against Mr. Stephen Turepo, and that yesterday he was arrested to answer those petitions. I don't know what is going on. He probably could have been bailed. The offense upon which he was arrested is a bailable offense. And in Nigeria's criminal jurisprudence, when somebody is arrested and there is a man to undertake that he will produce him when the police want him, the police will hand over that person to him. So he will be bailed. I did not even expect that Stephen Turepo will spend more time in the backing. I had expected that there would be a speedy processing of his bail condition. The Minister of Niger Delta has the how will we call it, can bail Turepo on that kind of charge. Okay. So, but he was arrested, and he probably would have been bailed, and then we need to wait to see what the police will do. The allegation against Stephen Turepo is so serious that if the police, the DSS, allow it to slip, it will cast law on their integrity. The allegation, the claim of Mr. Stephen Turepo is that he was at Sheikh Grace Arena and that he won the election that was conducted at Sheikh Grace Arena. And the police and other security, we want to see how the police investigates the claims and then get back to the public to tell us the truth of the matter.
Well, as of now, he remains innocent. Whatever he says remains valid until proven otherwise.
That's correct.
But then I have a question and concern towards the fact that you've said this matter has been in court and it has been ruled upon before now. And then this particular document that you've reported was forged or were forged was also presented as evidence within the law court. Now, would you say that the experts within the court system, within the legal system, were not able to see the fault in those certificates in order to give the right?
No, the people who went to court are very tricky. One of them who debarred, he has this criminal record of being very unscrupulous. He was almost going to be stopped from answering the name barrister and appearing in court. And he is very trickish. But the truth of the matter is that you cannot take one party to court and then you don't sue the other party. I appeared with him at a certain station and he told us that he selects who to sue. He wanted to sue the national chairman of the party, he wanted to sue, and at the national party, the APC at the national, is the same thing as APC in Akwa Ibom. But I know that that was false, because if you sue the national chairman of APC, you want to be the national chairman because that is the person that that suit will affect. Now, you can't shave any man's head in his absence. If you say that you want to unseat the state structure of the party, so Austin Ekanem ought to have been in court. And now the court also would need to find out whether appropriate parties have been brought before them so that they will not be misled by one section. So forged documents, as you've asked me, have been presented to the court. And there was no counter because there was no party.
And yet the court gave its ruling.
And then the court gave it ruling. That's why I'm saying that my laws
there's a provision of the law that would accompany that. Else, there is no way a court of jurisdiction would give verdict on a case that is not within that the Constitution does not have provision that
it's
it
a
makes.
lower court decision. It's a decision of the court of first instance. There is possibility of upturning that decision because when you appeal, you are going to state,
every lower court has.
You are going to state the errors in the judgment and show proof by law that those errors actually, hampered the cause of justice. And that is what the appeal before the Court of Appeal seeks to do. Principal among it is that those parties that this judgment principally are going to affect were not brought before my lord to state their case. The Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria grants fair hearing to every citizen of the country. It is a crime for me to sue you and then I don't bring you to court. And once it is established that fair hearing was not given to a matter, it is a direct bar on that judgment. And that's why they are skeptical about the appeal. and then they have like the wrong decision, the wrong advice that was given to the national chairman that I was talking about the other time, asked the national chairman to withdraw. But thank God that one of the parties to the suit had filed an appeal upon which that appeal is going to be the stepping stone through which the erroneous judgment is going to be set aside. And we shouldn't make any mistake about it.
Well, since the case is in court, you never can tell. Perhaps it will be set aside, perhaps not. So we'll look forward to that ruling, and I feel maybe perhaps that will bring an end to the many controversies amongst the APC. I hope that somewhere, somehow, the ruling might be somewhat favorable to you, but in as much as you're still anticipating, you never can tell. But again, thanks for being on the show.
Thank you.
All right. Well, we'll go on a short time out. When we return, Political Spectrum will continue, or maybe we'll wrap it up there. Please stay with us. Well, welcome back. If you're just joining in, would I say you missed it? But no, you didn't miss it. We are a click away. You can get on our different socials on Facebook, on Instagram, and yes, watch the replay of Political Spectrum for your own interest. It was a short time here with us. It was nice having you at